Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon. Welcome back to the Daily Thread. Oh, look who's back in the studio.
Welcome back to New York.
Yeah.
You know, this business with going to Israel has won. Got to keep coming back.
I know, right?
You know, and that was a long flight. It's a long flight, almost 12 hours, 11 hours, 55 minutes.
Comfortable?
Yeah, very comfortable. Very nice, very comfortable. I slept a little bit like the first 2 hours I slept. And then they served dinner at 2 a.m.
Oh, nice.
On my body clock. They had a choice of chicken, beef, or salmon. So what do you think I chose?
I think you chose the beef.
No, I'm not eating beef at 2 a.m., please.
What did you choose?
I had the salmon. It was really very tasty, but it was so dark on the plane because most people were sleeping, so I had to use the flashlight from my phone to see what they were serving.
So I'm sure everyone wants to hear more about your salmon, but let's just dive into the meal box.
No, it was very tasty. I also want to tell you also at 5 a.m. we had breakfast.
Oh, yeah?
5 a.m. there was breakfast. I had an omelet at about 5 a.m.
Did you write this down?
Yeah, I wrote it down so I shouldn't forget.
Did you write it down on the plane? While you're eating it at 5 a.m.
I wrote it
breakfast.
yesterday. I wrote it yesterday.
You didn't want to forget that you had breakfast.
Yeah, I had what they have with the omelet. It had very good, some kind of like tomato sauce with the omelet. Was it eggplant? No, it wasn't avocado. It was like a green vegetable, like a long. I think
it's an eggplant.
Avocado, I think it was.
Oh, if you're not sure if it was an avocado or an eggplant, then something's wrong with it.
Well, you know, first of all, we left at 12:45 a.m. Israel time, and we landed in New York at 5:30
a.m.
5:30.
And that's kind of, I just want to apologize. That's what we didn't have an episode yesterday. It was it was a travel day. It was very tired, but we did get an email from a friend of ours all the way from Australia. Good afternoon. It's 1:30 p.m. Thursday in Australian time. Can I assume that there is no episode today due to Mr. Gordon Sr.'s trip home? Just wanted to say I enjoy my daily episode with my coffee. Yes, Nachi. I don't know how you live without it.
Yeah.
While feeding my baby. And I was very disappointed to see no new episode on Spotify today. I am not one of the people who write in, but thought it was a good opportunity to share my appreciation on this kosher and entertaining podcast. As someone who dramatically cut technology use after an Kaddish event, I'm loving the Daily Thread and often discuss the topics raised in my family. There is definitely a lot more than chocolate pudding going on. Keep up the great work.
Oh.
This is from Leia from Australia, who was very disappointed that we did not have an episode yesterday.
I forgot about the chocolate pudding already. It was such a long time ago.
I think that means that our friends at Renaissance need to send us a new one.
Yeah, they could send it packed in such a way that it doesn't have to be eaten the minute you receive it. They could,
maybe you want to get a monthly supply?
They could pack it in such a way that you could refrigerate it.
Could they put your face on a chocolate pudding cereal box?
Not yet.
Not yet?
Not yet. I don't think they're packaging that
There's
yet.
a lot to discuss today. Where shall we start? I think maybe let's start... first of all, the other day, a woman named Chaya Raichik, she was on with Tucker Carlson. Chaya Raichik is the founder, the director of a page called Libs of TikTok. It's basically a social media account that exposes primarily people who are liberal on the left for their nefarious doings and their the way they educate children in schools and teaching young children about things they shouldn't be being taught about. Mm-hmm. She doesn't do anything other than shine a light for these people and really expose who they actually are. And she was doxxed a couple months ago by Miss Lorenz from the Washington Post. And what it means to be doxxed for all our millennials out there is her address, the address of her family was put out there into the whole wide world to know. And that's something that someone could really feel unsafe about. So she was on Tucker Carlson. And something to note about this Chaya Raichik is that she is a frum girl.
She's a Chabad girl from a prominent Chabad family, originally from California.
And Libs of TikTok garners millions of followers across all their platforms, even on Twitter, millions of followers.
And the interesting thing that she said is that she's not a journalist, although she's in journalism now. She's not a journalist that exposed anything. She said all she is doing is putting out there what they put out there.
She's just sharing what they're sharing.
But she said that the important point is that they don't want you to know what they're doing.
Exactly. Like for example, like
expand a little bit about what they're doing.
For example, she exposed a story of people who are in transition, in gender transition.
Right.
People are prescribed medication for it from their doctors, adults. and these adults were saving the medication and shipping it to kids who they thought would benefit from it, which is completely illegal. And they were talking about this whole web of operation they have online, and she exposed that whole operation. And
these are people that they're saying, I think one of the best explanations I heard about this, it's really deviancy. It's a deviant way of life.
Yeah.
One of the things I heard about is that when a baby is born, if a doctor says it's a boy or girl, they're guessing.
Yeah.
Okay, they're not sure.
They're not sure.
They're not sure. They're giving you their best guess, whether it's because you don't know how the kid's going to feel when
exactly
3 or 4 or 5 or 7 years old.
So Chaya Raichik, who she really was anonymous, and she kept a very low profile until she was doxxed, until everything was made public, and then her family was in danger. She was in danger because you have a lot of crazy people out there that were not happy with the things that she was doing. So
we know a lot of them.
Yeah. So she had said on Tucker Carlson something that was amazing, and she had said that when Tucker Carlson asked her, did anybody reach out to you to offer any help? And she said that Governor DeSantis' office called her up and said, we're so sorry that this is happening to you. And the governor is offering the guest house by the governor's mansion. If you need to stay for however long you want to stay, you can come stay by the governor's mansion and you'll be safe here. And that's really incredible. Chaya Raichik is not from Florida. She does not live in Governor DeSantis' state. She lives in California.
Right.
And he offered her a place to stay and a place for her family until they feel safe. Now, I don't know if she took him up on it. I know she was extremely touched. She was extremely touched by that gesture and that offer.
Ron DeSantis is he's 44 years old.
He's Trump with a filter.
He's clear thinking. He's a clear thinking, responsible adult with a wife and 3 young children. And he's what this country needs. It's too early to start talking about presidential aspirations.
Yeah, way too early.
But he's what this country is desperate for. That kind of leadership, kind of responsible type of outlook on what the future of America is going to be. Right now, we're just falling apart at the seams.
Yeah, it's kind of scary. But that's our first story for today. Really, a shout out to Governor DeSantis, Chaya Raichik, who it's just incredible. You hear about people in media.
Why don't we have her on? Why don't you have her on?
So we sent an email. We sent an email
to who?
To Libs of TikTok. We sent an email to them, and hopefully we'll get her on the Daily Thread and
get her on meaningful people. Have her on for an hour
and have a discussion with her. And it's just incredible that she's this from girl.
Well, I know you want to move on, but she highlighted what teachers are doing in the classroom and the values or the lack of values that they're sharing with young students, and how that is contributing to the
mental illness,
deconstruction of an entire generation,
of families, of home, of what a home should look like. Yeah, it's really scary. So today happens to be Hey Teves. Hey Teves is the day that the courts ruled in the side of Chabad, that Chabad should receive the Sfarim that were, shall I say...
The Frierdiker Rebbe, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak Schneerson.
The seventh Rebbe's father-in-law.
Yeah, had a very extensive library of Sfarim. Some of them, of course, were transported over here from wherever he was living in Europe, in Lithuania, and other parts of in Russia. Mm-hmm. Had a very valuable collection of Sfarim. And by the way, you should know that there's still a Schneerson library that the Russians are holding.
Yeah.
That
Putin
refuses to let go.
I had spoken to Rabbi Elkanah Shmutkin for Meaningful People. That episode's coming out pretty soon, and he had said, obviously, the most amazing thing that I heard was that the Rebbe never left New York after he became Rebbe. After his Nasias, he stayed in New York, and then, he went to upstate New York, but he always he stayed in New York, which is incredible. But he said before that, he traveled a lot. If you look at his passport, which they got a copy of, so I asked him, who has the Rebbe's passport? So he said which government is it? I forgot. There's a government that has.
He was born in the Ukraine.
So I think he gave in his passport to the I don't know which government, but
he was born in the Ukraine. He spent time in France before he came to America. And Berlin, I believe, and in Paris, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Somebody will correct me if I am mistaken. That was now it wasn't just where someone just wanted to steal this farm and turn them in and sell them and make a fortune from it. You could interpret it that way, but the Frierdiker Rebbe had a son-in-law who, after the Frierdiker Rebbe died, felt that this was part of the family's Yerusha.
Yeah.
They have a right to their fathers. So the case was, do the Sfarim belong to the family,
or do they belong to Chabad? Yeah.
Okay. And it was in court for a while.
And the Rebbitzin was deposed.
Right.
And she something that she said, and when she was asked this farm if they belonged to Chabad or to her father, she responded that my father belonged to Chabad, and therefore the Sfarim belonged to Chabad.
Uh-huh.
And Lewin, who is the chief counsel in the case, he said that what?
Nat Lewin,
who is the chief counsel in the case, said that the Rebbitzin's deposition, which was key in deciding the case. Listen, I think it was what we know is a very hard time for the Rebbitzin and the family to go through such a public legal battle. But Chabad, this is a day, Dida Natzach, they sing and they dance, and
you should post some of that.
Maybe that should be
the Hey Teves for bringing.
Dida Natzach.
You could post it for bringing.
Yeah, I'll post some videos.
Post a few seconds.
But that is Hey Teves.
It's the Yantif in Chabad.
Is it really? Is it a Kapata day?
No, I don't think it's a Kapata day. I was looking at my Chabad Siddur, which I have on my phone. I was wondering if it gives you a daily whether they skip Tachlin today or not, but they don't do that very often. They don't do that at all, actually. So most times not. Maybe Yutes Kislev is about that, and of course the regular Yom Tovim like Hanukkah and Pesach and Sukkot and so on and so forth. So listen, those were great days. Because you have to understand, before electronic media, which of course you guys don't know what it's like to live a life without electronics. But the only way you can hand down knowledge that was accrued and accumulated from generation to generation is through the written word.
Yeah.
On paper and books, and that's how, for thousands of years, that is how this information and scholarship from Torah and Chiddushei Torah. This is how it was handed down from generation to generation.
Yeah.
And this is why it was so valuable.
From generation.
That has to be. That's the only way it could be handed down, and it's extremely valuable. Now you just put it on a what do they call those things you plug into the USB or whatever you call it.
Not a floppy disk.
You just take a little USB, you put it in your pocket, and with your small change, and hopefully you could don't lose.
Listen, very soon there's gonna be Neuralinks. We're gonna have chips in our brains that have access to all the information in just in a second. Hopefully not. Well, speaking of technology, we discussed last week about 24/6, the streaming app that Tag came out against, and this story broke last night via Lakewood Alerts. It says Lakewood are Bunim to release a Kol Koreh banning the use of 24/6 music streaming platform.
Okay, so this
Tag's public stance against the platform, which labels itself as an exclusively kosher alternative to non-Jewish music streaming, was almost immediately followed by a mass kol koreh from nearly all Hasidic mosques across the United States and Canada. Now, Lakewood Rabbanim intend to announce their disapproval of 24/6 as well. Sources tell Lakewood Alerts that a meeting was held in the Yeshiva Katana Simcha Hall on Tuesday night with all menahalim and administrators of Lakewood schools and mosques, in which they discussed putting out a similar kol koreh against the platform. The meeting was led by BMG Rosh Yeshiva Reb Melchiel Cutler. Such a kol koreh could be forthcoming within the days, even hours.
So what's the nature of the opposition?
The making of a ban.
Where's the
How
danger?
about that? What's the making of a ban?
Where's the danger?
I honestly, I don't understand.
Well,
I don't understand
maybe
it.
we can get somebody on here that can explain the.
So I put out a couple of feelers. Nobody wants to really come on the record and talk about it. And I did speak to somebody who's in the music business. And I'm not going to say who they are. Listen, it's worth noting. I know they're not Rabbanim, but there are some very holy people who are in the music business that are very
what they say
very into this. I did speak to somebody who is in the music industry, and I'll tell you something he told me. And we could discuss this. Instead of spending millions of dollars on organizations for kids going off the derech, how about we spend millions of dollars for kids on the derech? And that's what people are saying this 24/6 app is that it's a kosher way of entertainment. It's a way that kids and adults and parents really can control, what is accessible, is where they'll be listening to podcasts and be listening to music and watching music videos in a controlled space.
So what's the nature?
Why?
What's the nature? I think I'm trying to, instead of playing a little ping pong game and saying we both don't understand what the nature of the ban is.
Yeah, I'd love to
I
hear.
think the nature of the ban possibly is that if you expose somebody to this, then they're going to get a taste for
I think
technology.
it's a gateway drug.
Yeah, exactly. Like there was a rabbi who used to go around to different yeshivas to just know what he used to discuss. I don't know if we mentioned it here or not. He used to discuss proof that God exists.
Yeah, okay.
And a lot of yeshivas used to have him speak about it, but certain yeshivas didn't want him to come in to speak
Because
about
they don't
it.
want the thought of what do you mean?
How could someone have the idea that God doesn't exist? How could you even entertain the thought? And if you're going to speak to kids about proof that Hashem exists, then someone's going to say, what? Is it possible to think that he doesn't exist? So they don't want to expose people to that. And that's when you have a ban on something like 24/6, because it's going to give you a taste for technology.
I don't think that you agree with that premise, though.
No, I don't agree with it at all. I don't even think you need 24/6. You know, it's a nice thing. You have to use your brain that God gave you and act in a responsible fashion.
But when it's someone who has there are people who can't be
partial brain.
No, people are
functioning.
First of all, 16-year-olds don't have a fully functioning brain.
Okay, what age is the brain fully functional?
I think 24.
41. Some people it's in the early 40s. I think
some people never happens. I don't know, but no, I think, and I know 24/6. Millions of dollars was invested into this platform.
Well, maybe they should have checked beforehand.
Check with who?
I don't know. Check with whoever's
Since when is any like?
Now.
Why would something like this be banned? There's Jewish music on it. Like I literally have the app on my phone.
I'm hearing about this. Achi, I'm hearing about. I'm trying to understand it. While we're talking about this.
Like,
I see what you're saying. It looks good.
MBD, Abba Fried, Isha Ribo, Benny Freeman. Let's go to video. Benny Freeman. Acapella, like what concerts,
it's like
podcasts.
It's like what you said. It's like they say why they so much against I don't know, drinking whiskey at Kiddushim, because it's a gateway thing.
But I disagree that this is a gateway. This is not a gateway. This is a solution.
If you see how cool technology is and what it could produce for you, then if you have a wandering type of mind, then you might go into other things.
Oh, but this is a solution.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying
you think that's the answer?
That's their thinking.
Well, when someone puts out a cold call, why can't they list what the reason is?
I don't know. Maybe I live in a different world. Does anybody pay attention to the cold callers?
Do you read Yiddish?
I can read Yiddish. You gonna give me something Yiddish to read now? There's a cold caller in Yiddish, by the way.
There's a cold caller from the Chassid.
If it's in Yiddish, don't have to worry about it. No one understands it.
There's a cold caller from the Chassidish Meister that's in Yiddish. If you could sort of read that.
I mean, first of all,
I need to make my font bigger.
What? Something about 24/6 is a churban in Heus for the Ossid.
You could have just said you don't know how to read Yiddish.
Unsere Kinder. They're saying that 24/6 is a churban. You know what a churban is? It destroys homes. It destroys homes and it destroys our children. Kaufen azar devist for a kind. If you buy such a thing for a kid, rein in Speis in Ossid haruchais. I don't know what it is. Funny. I don't know. I think you should cut out this part of the whole thing.
No, I think this is the best part so far.
I don't know. If you want to give me something to study in Yiddish, I could make my way through it. But the gist of it is,
it's
basically what I says. That it's an introduction to the potential destruction.
Okay, so listen,
of a young mind.
The cold caller from Lakewood is not out yet.
Nachi, apparently keeping them closed off from all technology and all information, apparently it's working very well so far.
You're being sarcastic?
No, the communities are falling apart.
Which communities?
The communities that limit access to information.
Are they falling apart?
I think they're falling apart.
What is that based on?
What is it based on? It's based on the success of all these organizations that are doing so well, counseling people that are. You had a guy on here, Rabbi Babad, who talked about what's going on in some communities. With all kinds of addictions and we shouldn't know from it. People taking their lives because of their dissatisfaction, unhappiness, and the mixed messages that they're getting from all kinds of different directions.
So I mean that person from the music industry that left me that note, I thought was so spot on. Like, we have so many organizations that are here to pick up the broken pieces, kids who are struggling and are going off, and I'm in no way saying that if we would ease our control on technology, then they wouldn't be going off. Not at all. That's not what I'm saying. But here we have people who are trying to create something that could perhaps be a safe way for people to, live in this generation and benefit from the music and the podcasts and the videos that are being put out and the kosher entertainment, and then coming out and banning it and going out against it. First of all, you're turning off people who are creating something for Jewish people to benefit from. You're like cutting their legs from under them to do for more for the community. And second of all, like, you don't think they're going to go on Spotify? You don't think they're going to go on Apple Music and YouTube?
I don't know.
Do you really think that the like a Kol Kari coming out, like, whatever, like take a trip down Lakewood, take a trip down Five Towns, Muncie, everywhere. You don't think people are on Spotify? I think they are. I really think they are. So
everybody's on Spotify?
Not everybody, but between Apple Music and Spotify, Abba, where else are they getting their music? So this is an alternative. Download 24/6. You don't have to be on Spotify.
You can't buy CDs anymore?
We're buying CDs.
Do cars still have CD players, or that's gone?
I think the people listening to this podcast, that means they're listening to podcasts. Where do you think they're listening to this? Unless they listen to this on the Meaningful Minute app, which I don't know why there's no Kol Kari against the Meaningful Minute app at this point.
Well, so what you're saying is the people that are authoring, that are creating these Kol Koras against something like 24/6, lack a fundamental understanding of what they're doing.
I'm not going to say anything about any Rabbanim that they lack anything.
You said it already. It's
no,
okay.
I didn't. You
can move on now.
No, I didn't. No, I did. You're trying to get me canceled. I don't think
what
anybody's...
What are you about being canceled for? You can't be canceled.
Why not?
Why should you be canceled? You don't deserve to be canceled.
I'm a redhead. But anyone, I'm not saying anyone has a lack of understanding. To be honest, I don't know if Kol Koris work. I don't think nowadays machaz work. I don't think these things. I think they just draw more attention to it, and it's the greatest PR anyone could get.
They work for 3 days.
And if something gets banned,
to the next thing.
If something gets banned, like the most traffic ends up going to that thing. But
right, I'll tell you a story about that. There was once a shtetl. When they used to have a newspaper in the shtetl, they used to how they get the news out. They used to post it on the main bulletin board in the center of the town, and people wanted to know the news, so they went to read it. And then there are bottom in this town, Europe, they banned that paper, and the people in the paper they had to start printing thousands of copies. Yeah, because no one was allowed to read it in the town square.
Remember years ago there was this concert, this Lipa concert, the big event, and it was canceled. Like boom, canceled. Right. It was the big, and then it ended up being uncanceled. It was in Madison Square Garden. We were there. There wasn't a seat to be had because nobody was gonna miss the event that was canceled. There's a mystique around it. So
all right, so let's just let's try to set the record straight. People who want to,
I think it's a control
people want to
thing.
ban these things. Their heart's in the right place.
Yeah, they're trying to protect people.
That's right. They're trying to protect the overall community, but it's a lack of fundamental understanding of contemporary issues. And they should take some time and study these things and speak to the experts in technology and how it works and how technology interfaces with human beings, and maybe have a better understanding of what they're trying to do.
On to the next story, just in from Balaz News. After meeting with new Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu at the Prime Minister's office, former Prime Minister Lapid left behind this note on his desk. It says Lapid 2024 on it.
Is that what it said?
Yeah. Pretty nasty, though.
I don't think there's going to be an election again in 2024.
That's like a sore loser move.
Yeah, that's the left.
It's the nature how it goes. It's the nature how it goes.
Israel is it's not a monolithic country. It's very divided, very much like the United States, very divided. Look what happened in Buffalo over last weekend. There was a snowstorm. 32 people died.
Yeah, it claimed the lives of young people.
And people what did people die from? They died from shoveling snow.
From being outside.
And they got stuck in their cars, and people couldn't get to them to save to them. And the President of the United States is on the beach in St. Croix, where it's 84 degrees and sunny.
Well, where was Eric Adams when New York had a storm over the weekend? He was asked about it. He was very upset. He was in the Virgin Islands.
I was in Israel. I forgot about Eric Adams.
Yeah, but you're not a politician. You can go wherever you want. You can be in Eretz Israel.
It was cold. It was cold in Israel.
I'm so sorry. I feel so bad for you.
I had to wear a sweatshirt and a coat over.
But they asked Eric Adams in a press conference to say, "Where were you during the weekend?"
Yeah.
And he got very defensive. He said, "Listen,
where was he?
I was working for the last 365 days." He said, "Christmas is a time where I lost my mother. This is the second Christmas without my mother, and depression. I get depressed on Christmas because I'm not with my mother anymore. Okay. So I took a vacation. I went to the Virgin Islands.
Okay.
He was trying to defend and he felt disgusted that the New York media was asking him how dare he take a vacation during a storm.
Well, I remember Hurricane Sandy here in the Five Towns. all the political leaders, local government I'm talking about, every single one was in Florida.
Yeah, it's true.
Someplace else.
Didn't go over too well, did it?
They had to scamper to get flights to get back here to show that they're standing with the people during the time of there's no electricity and the houses are dark and the schools are dark and everything was closed down, and they were in Florida where everything was fine.
And on that topic, Ben Shapiro says, remember that time that Ted Cruz was the worst person in the world for being in Cancun with his family during a giant freeze in Texas, while Joe Biden just took off for St. Croix. While Joe Biden just took off for St. Croix, and Eric Adams to the Virgin Islands during the worst freezing weather event in decades, to media shrugs. It's just the way it goes. Some politicians on the left do the same thing that politicians on the right did and got killed for. They get a free pass.
I'm glad I'm not in elected office. I'm glad nobody.
Yeah, and it says also in Ben Shapiro's tweet, Larry Gordon went to Israel during.
No, but I'm next week. I'm going to go to Florida, and hopefully it'll be warm there. We'll be doing our what's it called, the split screen podcast. Yeah. Hopefully we'll be doing that without the big time difference. Oh my God, 7-hour difference.
I know.
It's one day for me, a different day for you. Anyway, you mentioned a few seconds ago that you're discriminated against because you're a redhead. Did you say?
I was making a joke. I don't think I actually am.
And that reminded me of something. Do we have a newly elected congressman here out in Long Island, George Santos?
Okay.
Yeah, and everything he said about his life has not been proven so far not to be true.
Really,
the schools he went to never have a record of him attending those schools. The companies that he said he worked for, Goldman Sachs and Citibank, never had a record of him. And then he's been claiming all along that he's Jewish. Also,
what's the last name?
Santos. He claimed he's Jewish when they found out that his parents are Catholic. And they're from Brazil. So he said, "Oh, I didn't mean that I'm a Jew. I meant that I'm Jewish. Like, look at your head.
I can't really look at my head, but you could, yeah.
No, but you're not a redhead. It's reddish.
Like Cam Reddish?
It's reddish, or it's like someone is ticklish.
Yeah.
George Santos is Jewish.
I don't get it.
He didn't mean that he's a Jew. He meant that he's Jewish.
I know, that's very strange. It's kind of like Kamala Harris. Also lying on air when she's doing a greeting with her husband, Doug Emhoff, and saying, when I grew up celebrating Kwanzaa, like, you did not grow up celebrating Kwanzaa.
Where's no Kwanzaa?
Kamala Harris is not African-American.
No, Kamala Harris is half Jamaican and half Indian.
So why would she be celebrating Kwanzaa?
She's a woman of color. One more thing about George Santos. He said in his own defense, I don't know how he's going to survive this.
Yeah.
Everything he says is a lie. But you know what? And he's being investigated, but he hasn't really committed a crime. There's only one way they can get him. He personally donated $700,000 to his campaign.
To his own campaign.
And now they're investigating, where did the $700,000 come from? Here's a guy without a job.
Maybe it came from his Jewish friends.
So they're going to track that money now. Now, if he earned that money, did he pay taxes on that money? So that's what's being investigated right now about Mr. Santos. So, but he's in a predicament, and like I said, he said that Joe Biden hasn't been in politics 40 years. That he hasn't said anything true for 40 years.
Santos said that.
Santos says Biden lies every day. What do you want from me?
Yeah, that's the State of the Union. Thank you everyone for listening to today's Daily Thread, Thursday, December 29th.
Yeah.
9th. Last episode of this week. We'll be back at you with another one starting on Monday. Make sure to subscribe to us on WhatsApp status. Make sure to email us if you have any feedback. We love hearing your feedback, whether you're from Australia, New York, Cedarhurst, Rockaway, Brooklyn, wherever it is in the world.
Anywhere
that
on the
is
planet.
thedailythread@meaningfulminute.org. And it's not a Happy New Year because our New Year was on Rosh Hashanah. Do not have a Happy New Year. Have a regular Monday and Tuesday. Adios.